Hello everyone, I'm Reggie, an average denizen of FEU that just mostly lurks around. Right over here, I got Apparoid, who's got a fun little mapping project for all of us. Alright, even though I just said your name, who are you? What do you do around here? What's the story?
Um, well, thank you. My name's App. I've been here for a good 6 years. Done some hacks, done a lot of maps, way too many maps, as we'll get into, and just generally like Reggie here, lurked around a bit. But today, what are we going to be doing, Reggie?
Well, here we're going to be discussing your newest project, which I'm honestly quite excited about. Uh, Specifically, how do you arrive at something of this size? Because I've just been given a few little bits and tidbits, but apparently this is going to be something unheard of on the scale of this community.
Uh, Something like that. So it actually isn't technically brand new. I started this thing at like the end of 2020.
Oh, so it's been molding for a while.
Yeah, but before that, I did two reasonably notable maps. In 2020, I essentially just gradually, in a very organic fashion, started working on the Elite, not the Elite, the what I call the Jug Draw Continental project, which was quite an endeavor at the time. These days, I realize it's a bit unfinished in how it sort of turns out. I think at some point in the future, I might convert it back into FE4 assets. And then once I finished that one, I got started on a British map that I got a trace for through Medieval 2 of all things. And I started the project probably in late 2020, and then I dropped it and got back into it in early 2021, or in like December. Finished that at the beginning of this year, and you may know that as the British Isles Continental project, so to speak. But both of them took about, I want to say about 2 months to make each, of just like endlessly working on them.
That's a good amount of time.
So yeah, they were a real grind, and in some ways I don't actually think they're necessarily up to that standard, but the next project I have going on should be.
I mean, that's a pretty big milestone. Having a project bigger than all of Jugdral in an entire real life country. That's a pretty big thing to mull around. My question, honestly, is just why? Like, this seems like such a massive undertaking.
So, back when I started doing mapping in 2016, for some reason I just always disobeyed the very notions of FEGBA mapping limits, and gradually got better at it, debatably, but eventually, basically the way it starts is how that sort of thing organically starts as normal, which is you go, I'm gonna recreate Birth of the Holy Knight, and then, oh, I'm gonna recreate Chapter 1, and then it just sort of spiraled from there.
As one often does.
The one thing that I did discover from that is that Evans Castle, the area around it, which is featured in 3 FE4 maps, does not align particularly well, among other things. But yeah,
So you're saying all of this started off as a nitpick?
it started off as basically I just wanted to recreate them for the sake of recreating them, and then I gradually transitioned into just filling in the blanks, because that's always been something I'm sure a lot of people in the community have probably imagined. And as a matter of fact, there was actually one person who did this before me.
Oh, do you happen to know who they were?
Yeah, his name's Arbiter K. You can find the Reddit post, but he's not around necessarily anymore. But among other things, I really tried to put a lot of fun into it. Like, there's a bunch of different Easter eggs in it, in the Jug Drawer one in particular. For example, I won't say where it is, but there's actually a chest piece of a horse embedded on the map somewhere. So you can have some fun Easter egging that one.
You love me some eggs made of Easter.
Actually, on a different note, I did finally got around to hanging up both of said maps on my wall, and they're very imposing or to look at, due to the fact that both of them are like 3 by 4 feet in picture diameter. I'll have some B-roll up on it here, but it was a great, I think, source of strength for the sort of things I've managed to accomplish in this community, and really my whole life, actually.
Yeah, I can imagine those things must be beautiful in person.
Yes, they are. Although this is not about my life story. This is about a project we haven't even gotten to. So
Exactly, and another thing I want to ask, because you said you started doing this in 2020, right? This specific project, I mean.
I started doing what we're calling the Elibe Continental project in about late 2020. Or I started working on the tile set of it, which I'll bring up here. It's rather impractical to use, but it is a behemoth.
How did you even get to a map this size? Was there no point where you thought, this seems adequately sized?
Okay, so the story behind this one, you're gonna have to bear with me for this one. So, part of the territory that comes with doing an Elibe map, I think, is embedding all of the maps from FE6 and 7, and possibly other games, that fit within the tile set scale.
I would assume for all of this to work, you would have to conjure up every single FE7 and FE6 map into one giant collage, right?
Yes, and I have done exactly that, with a few more on the way once I get around to them. Like, for example, so we have well over 50 maps from both FE6 and FE7 on this collage currently that I'm going to embed everywhere on the map. So the reason why it ended up being this large was because, okay, basically I wanted to fit all of the Dread Isle maps onto Valor. Sort of caused me to increase the scale until they fit. As a side effect, made everything else a behemoth. But to be fair, it kind of needs to be. At the very least, so I can fit them somewhat comfortably.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that is the reason why it's like twice the size you would think it would be. Some other additions, I may consider contacting some people to include a couple other projects in it, as well as I have plans to also add some more obscure things, like for example, a couple of the beta FE6 maps.
Those weren't all released, actually, were they?
No, so you gotta make some reinterpretations of things, and I have. Some of which have been turned upside down, some of which have been gone into different biomes. This project I plan to have, instead of having one set that's essentially one biome, this one's gonna have 6.
What biomes are you going to include in this project?
The biomes in question are going to be fields, which is usually used for Lycia and Etruria, plains, which you would know as being Sakai, mountainous, which is generally Burn, frontier, which is generally used for the Western Isles, desert, which is used for Nevada. I'm going to be using a more vibrant version for this, because that's the FE6 variant and not the other variants. And snow, for Ilia, of course.
That sounds lovely. Gotta have a little bit of visual diversity, as they say.
Yeah, I want to make it, I want to really take it up a notch from what I've done previously, you know?
Want to make it really pop, right?
Something like that. Also regarding these collage maps, every single one of them, although very subtly, and in some cases not so subtly, they're all recreated from scratch, which takes, as you might imagine, a very long time, and for actually pretty little result, but it's really just to help in the claim that this project is essentially 100% handmade. No generators, no import imaging, well...
No copy-pasting.
Except for how I got the finished trace of this one.
One more question, on top of all of the other questions. How the heck did you manage to fit this thing into a map tile? That's gotta be some mad wizarding shit.
So the explanation for why I found this file, and ironically enough, this is like the reason I'm using tiled for this, is because it can... The program that I usually use for maps is Fire Emblem Map Creator by Buddy, which is used for things like tactile, and you can use it on its own just fine. That one's really straightforward to use, but it can't really handle anything larger than about 400 by 400. Like if you were to go on a 300 by 300 map and load it up in there and go to zoom 4, it's just going to crash, or it's going to freeze up. So as a result, I had to use tiled, which handles this resolution beautifully. But you might ask, how exactly did I get a trace of this in a map file? Did I manually do it? Did I do this? Did I do that? Well, the explanation for it is I took an image from this defunct little project that it was basically, I think it was like a height map image of like all of the Fire Emblem continents in CK2, because there was a mod or something that did that. I took the Elibe portion of that. That's why the top right side end looks the way it does, because that's invented. Because technically speaking, this thing is about six panels, but I have it as 8 so it extends out a little bit, and then it has a C portion. Basically took just the Elibe one, which has a tail end that is invented by that mod, because you don't actually see what the top right peninsula on Elibe is. It could be a full landmass, it could be just a tail end. I made it a tail end for the sake of landmass. For the sake of capping it off, for it being a full island, you know?
Alright. Honestly, my guess was black magic. That's pretty close to it.
Well, I'm not done. So, one of my favorite features of FEMC is that it has an import image feature. What this means, essentially, is that if you were to take a PNG of something, and then make it 16 times larger in like a photo editor, and then import that image into FEMC, it'll make a trace of it that you then clean up. So, naturally speaking, I would take this whole thing and throw it into there, right? Well, it can't do that. So essentially, or at least you're gonna have a very hard time importing that and then saving it without it just not doing it. So, what I did was essentially I made the map, cut it up into 8 images, and then I think I had the original size at like 750 by 350, which is a half the size, so like 2x, and the current one is 4x. So anyway, I took each portion, which was half the size, then I doubled each of the image sizes, saved all of those, and then I imported each of them into FEMC individually, which took a full day to import each of the files. Then I saved all of them as different TMX files. Then I opened them all up into Tiled, and Tiled has a very nice feature where you can essentially drag a map from one file into a different one, and I assembled the map. And that is how I arrived at having this nice trace of a 1500 by 750 tile map.
Wait, you got that into a fucking map file?
That's the thing here.
Okay, I was under the impression that was just gonna be it's an actual map file.
Let me show you the grandeur of this real quick before I explain it.
Oh my lord. Obviously, this can't be inserted in an FE builder or shit like that,
No.
right?
No, not at all.
Not even... No.
But yeah, this is the collage. All of these were hand done. 51. Yeah, so
I think you counted one of them accidentally in upper time, so I think it's 50.
It's around. It's 50 or slightly over 50.
Just say it's about 50.
It's about 50 plus.
Oh my lord! You know, I was saying it just for the interview as like a little like tongue-in-cheek kind of way, but honestly, you kind of are a madman.
I told you I'm a bone-headed masochist. But yeah, you asked about the whole getting 1500 by 750 into a file, so let's okay, so if I have this at 100% zoom, so this here, as you can see by the coordinate down here, is 0, 0 coordinate. I really wish it was 1, 1, but we go down here.
That's just how it works. Oh my.
This is the Western Isles.
That's so fucking big.
Yeah, I don't think you fully understand the scale of this thing. Like, for example, I can stop right here. Where are we on the map?
I need to zoom in. I need to fucking full screen this shit.
We are in the middle of we are in the middle of Nevada.
Oh, wow. It's like we're in an actual world map or something. Oh my, this is absolutely gargantuan.
But yeah, so if you look at the bottom left, it is indeed that large.
I just want to ask, like, how long do you believe this will take to be completed? Because it already seems like it's taken a large amount of time.
So, when I first started working on it, I first did an announcement post of properly working on this. I think it was on March 31st, which was the 20th anniversary of FE6, and I think the original maps took about 2 months to complete each, and they're about 300 by 300 in dimensions. This Elibe one is a whopping 1500 by 750 tiles in diameter.
Oh dear lord.
Which means it's 8 times the size, but technically it's 7 times the size because one of the panels is entirely C. Which I'll have a credits list on that one, but more on that in a minute. But the thing about it is, I think my low estimate is that it'll probably take about 4 months of pure work. That's if I'm working on it constantly, which I currently, at least in the immediate moment, I'm not, but I'll get back on it eventually. But I think the dream is probably to have it done by FE7's release date, which that release date is April 25th of next year, is the 20th anniversary.
It would be a very fitting time to release it.
It would be a very fitting time to finish it, although I won't necessarily make any promises because I do want it to be as well polished as I can make it.
Of course, we're like Earthboundians here. We respect. Take all the time you need.
Yeah, I want it to be both for myself and also for the community to be sort of like the magnum opus map. It's actually so large a map that the resolution of it is about 16,000 by 7,500, I believe. Probably equates to about a 16K monitor, so you cannot view it in full as is. And even the ones that I have hanged up are 128 pixels per inch, which means that it would probably be larger than my room in diameter if I had the pixel density that low. It's actually it's almost impractically large to even view, but I think that's kind of part of the beauty of it is that it's larger than life in a way.
Hey, impractically large is the best type of large. Let's be real.
Yeah, I think there's actually paintings in real life that are well over 10 feet in both directions.
I'm sure for some.
But yeah, it's a real grandiose project.
Well, anyway, thank you for having me on here. Glad to know so much more about your project. I do want to ask, though, is there any way to actually get updates on this thing, or do you just have to go by mail?
No, you don't have to do mail, but in the description of this video, you'll find a link to the creative thread where I post updates on this. Do give it some love. I appreciate everyone who directly expresses their support, whether by a reply or just a simple like. Always like other people's posts on FEU. They can see them. They can see that you care. And it'll mean a lot to them internally. So always do when you can.
Try to be nice or don't. Your decision.
Or that is to say, be conscious of it. But yeah, I'll have updates there. Also, if you want to get involved, contact me directly on Discord. You can contact me directly if you want to help with this project in some way, if you're a madman like me, by this Discord handle on screen. And yeah, that should be about it. I hope you enjoyed the video. We spent a lot of time thinking this through and acting it out. How did I start that exactly?
I don't know, but you forgot to ask them to like, comment, and subscribe.
Okay. Be sure to enjoy the rest of FEE3, and as always, on behalf of the organizers, be sure to like, dislike if you want, and subscribe. And hit that bell if you're a masochist. As always, enjoy the event.
Well, thank you very much. I'm a head out. Have a good day. I'm gonna go play some Xenoblade 3.